and welcome to The What Show, a show where we dissect the ins and outs of socio-economic, business and money matters of Malaysia and Southeast Asia.
I am your host Bahons, and this is part 2 of our second episode of the series focusing on the Malaysian and regional aviation industry. So in the previous part 1, we spoke about the current state of the aviation industry. Now let's look directly into the details of the Malaysian airline operators. So Doreenn, I understand that you have been interviewing and speaking to the decision makers of the various airline players in Malaysia. Could you break it down for us? What is your take on the heads of the captains of the industry?
Okay. I first covered the aviation industry, the airlines, when I was at the age.
All right.
So being a rookie reporter then, it was like quite overwhelming when you meet people like Tony Fernandez. His accent, he's very, his personality speaks for himself. I mean, like, he's bigger than life. It's people, he's Tony Fernandez. So, but when you kind of like attend a lot of his press conferences, you get to see, he's all talk. I mean, he's a marketing guy, but he can be intimidating. I mean, he comes off as someone like you shiver if you probably talk to him, but he's a nice guy. But it's just that you get a gist of it. I mean, you know your thing, you know your stuff, you know your facts. If you do not agree with him or you write something very negative about him, he'll probably come down hard on you. But then again, if you stand your ground, I mean, most of the time he'll back off. So that's what I have experienced when dealing with Tony Fernandez. I mean, it's exciting, but you just need to stand your ground. Yeah. But of course.
Okay. Anyone else you can share?
Yeah. I mean, for me, I like talking to Malaysia Airports. Tan Sri Bashir, that time he was the MD, and I was doing reporting at the Age. So he is, he's like very calm, very collected. He doesn't frazzle easily. He doesn't talk big. It's not so media friendly. He doesn't talk to everyone, and he doesn't just go out and shout about everything.
Okay.
Right? So it's so different. I mean, he's an operator, so he has to manage his customers, which are people like Tony Fernandez, the airlines. So to him, he's very knowledgeable. I mean, he's a well-respected man in the industry. So when you mention his name, people from all over the world think that he's such a knowledgeable man. Okay. So he's, for me, the kind of CEO or MD that a company or country should need. So it was, he doesn't get into war of words with Tony. And I asked him, I said, like, Tan Sri, why don't you issue a press release or come out in the media, just to rebut what probably Tony is saying? He said, no, I mean, it's not necessary because it's still our customer. But there are other ways to go about it. You don't have to go to media and do that, ding dong kind of thing. Yeah. It becomes very probably very childish. I don't know. So he prefers to settle it the gentleman way, or maybe like, okay, I'll sit down with AirAsia people, I'll talk to AirAsia, I'll talk to Tony Fernandez, I'll talk to him, let's talk it out, rather than to air your linen, to tell everybody what's wrong with these people. Right? So he is really a gem of a guy.
So basically, do your battle behind closed doors. Yeah, have that conversation behind closed doors, and once we have reached an agreement, then if we want to say something to the media, we'll issue a statement. If we don't, I'm cool, you're cool, life goes on, business goes on. Yeah. That should be the way in that sense. So who else from the aviation industry had a positive impact, or just an impact in general, who's made it quite memorable for you?
Of course, then it was Idris Jalil from Malaysia Airlines. So he was the MD who turned around Malaysia Airlines and made it profitable. Of course, the criticism against him was that probably he's just picking the low-hanging fruits. It's easy to cut costs, to sell assets and all. But he still, know him personally because went on a trip as a Malaysia Airlines, IATA, we attended. And getting to know him personally, he's a very down-to-earth guy. I mean, he's knowledgeable. No doubt he came from oil and gas industry, came from Shell. So, but his personality is such a nice guy, and he
Very
knows,
chill guy, right?
Yeah, and he's a musician. I mean, okay, and
which event was it? He once performed for the media. I remember he was part of the group. He was playing the guitar.
Yeah, I think he did maybe for Malaysia Airlines.
Probably one of their dinners. Very. You don't see a CEO or someone of that level playing a guitar for his staff.
Yeah, I mean the only other person was Peter Blue. I mean the Irish guy. He left Malaysia Airlines as well. He's also a musician, but Idris Shala, is also. I mean, he's so down to earth. I mean, when you see him, there's no air about him. It's like he can talk to you like any other person. If you don't understand, he's willing to just make you understand, because for him, it's important that we understand. If we don't understand, who will understand the business? And it's like, to him, airline is such a high capex kind of industry. I mean, like, it puzzles him like why people actually go into airlines. You have to spend so much, and yet the margins are so low. So is it worth it? But to him, it's an enjoyable kind of industry, and he's a really another great guy who fought the battle with Tony Fernandez, and he came out pretty strong.
So from your experience as someone from the media, would you say now is a good time for them to be all over the media, or is it a good time for them to take a step back, shield themselves? Let's not say so much to the media.
Yeah, I think they just need to have a plan, a working plan, right? They need to know what they're going to do rather than to shoot off their mouth, because they may say the wrong things. And I mean, Shukri, he did reveal quite a bit in terms of what they want to do, and that the regulatory based framework, all this delayed. He said it doesn't affect them, but I still have my reservations on that. I mean, because you need money to expand, and expansion is not overnight.
No.
Expand now, it's not going to come up tomorrow, right? So he said it's a blessing that government did not spend the money at the time, because if not, what are you going to do with excess capacity where there's no demand? But when you build things over time, for instance, like 2 years, like travel will come back. That's where you have the capacity, and that's where you reap the benefits of it. So. These are just my thoughts. So what do I, they probably would know better.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Moving on to the next question. Let's look at AirAsia. Today, AirAsia has changed so much. They have repurposed themselves as a platform provider. So, in your opinion, what's the best way to value AirAsia? Is it still right to identify them as an airline operator or platform provider, because they have diversified into so many different business and different verticals? Yeah,
true. I mean, they are trying to do a lot. I mean, hats off to them. But again, they're pretty much an airline operator. I mean, like it or not, their branding is, they are an airline, right? They own planes, or whether they lease it or they own it, they still are essentially an airline operator. So their valuation will pretty much depend on their business, on how much revenue you're going to get, their margins, like things like that. So although they have done things like even like the
Santan teleport, at one point insurance, hotels,
mobile, everything. It's like Richard Branson, but I don't know how much this business actually translated, but still the core business is the airline, right? So it's good that they once asked him whether they can consider themselves as a tech company, but their tech is just to facilitate their business, to keep costs low, and probably to innovate and provide a different kind of solution to the public, maybe offer different things that to keep people exciting, to brand themselves as something, a brand that moves forward quickly. So, but they are still very much an airline. Their valuations are much depending on that.
Okay, and with regards to the industry and consumer behavior, in China, there's this term called revenge buying, where Chinese shoppers, after their lockdown, they went all out to shop at all the luxury high-end goods, and they really spent their money. So do you see that happening with the airline industry or the tourism industry in general?
No, but so I mentioned that there's a pent-up demand for travel. Like you mentioned earlier, you can't wait to get up from Malaysia and go to Sabah. So people want to travel. I mean, even domestic travel now, they have opened up and people are doing quite well. I mean, those with the, people want to travel. But of course, they are very cautious.
Okay.
As well as the airlines need to adhere to the certain SOPs, I think it's pretty fine. But again, it's a hassle. We want to go now you have to go 2-3 hours earlier. Would you want to go another 2 hours earlier just to make sure that you go through all the screening processes and all the SOPs. So especially when you have kids, you go with young kids or with older people. So but people still like to travel as long as the price is good. People go, yeah. Okay.
All right. So that's all for today. Thank you so much for watching, and thank you so much, Doreenn, for being part of our series. So don't
Thanks for
forget,
having me.
you're most welcome. So don't forget to like and subscribe to The What Show. Thank you so much. See you again soon. Bye.